All right, hello everyone. As people are getting logged into the Zoom here, we'll just give everyone another minute or two to get connected, and then we'll go ahead and start with the info session. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Johansson. I'm in the marketing department here at William James College and excited to welcome you to today's virtual info session. So we are talking about the graduate certificate in classroom mental health program that we have here at the college. So if we go to the next slide, with me today, we have Dr. Nadja Lopez-Riley, who is the director of the graduate certificate program, as well as Julia Ogden, who is an admissions counselor here at William James and the admissions representative for the graduate certificate in classroom mental health. So we can go to the next slide. I'll be your host for today's webinar, so I'm going to talk a little bit about William James here, go over a few housekeeping items, and then I will turn things over to Dr. Riley. So you can see on this slide a photo of our campus building. We are located in Newton, Massachusetts, so if you are not familiar with the area or not from here, you can see on the map there that we are located a little bit outside of Boston. This puts us in a great location, easy for our students to get to campus when needed from the highway. So, whether that's if you're in a program with on-campus classes, if you want to come to campus for any events we might be hosting, meet with a faculty member, it's really easy to get here. But even more so, being in Newton and in the greater Boston area puts us in a really great location close by to a lot of amazing organizations, businesses, school districts, a lot of places that we have connections with, and we can have our students have internships or field placement, different volunteer opportunities even. So we love being, in the Boston area for that reason as well. So if we go to the next slide, I just want to talk a little bit about all of the departments and programs that we have here at William James. I like showing this slide because it gives you a sense of all of the different expertise that we have here at the college. You can see that the classroom mental health certificate falls under our organizational and leadership department. But you can see we also have a clinical department, counseling, and a school department that offer a number of graduate level certificate or degree programs. And then we have a bachelor's completion program as well. So one thing I really like to emphasize on this slide is every program that you see listed here is focused in psychology, mental health, counseling, leadership. So, no matter what program you're in, all of the faculty you encounter, all of the peers around the college have the same expertise and passion for the field. This is 100% of what we do here is psychology. So that makes William James a really unique place for education if you're interested in the field. So on the next slide, I want to just talk a little bit about our core values, which extend across all of the programs that you saw on the previous slide and all of the work that we do here at William James. So first one there, personal growth. Obviously, if you are going back to school, enrolling in a certificate program, you are looking for that education, that professional growth, that certificate. But beyond that, we really emphasize personal growth here as well. So we have a lot of mentorship opportunities. We have really active Dean of Students office that put a lot of events on during the semester. There's a lot of opportunity to, come together with the William James community and have a lot of experience and events and things outside of the classroom as well. Secondly, social responsibility. This is something that we really, really emphasize here at William James. So you will see social responsibility as a key component of your courses. Through the work that we do at the college, we have a number of different centers that are housed at William James that do a lot of work in the communities, a lot of advocacy work. So really making a difference in our communities, meeting the different mental health and behavioral health needs that exist is something we really prioritize here at William James. And lastly, experiential education. I alluded to this a little bit already, but this is something we prioritize for all of our students. So putting into practice what you're learning in the classroom, actually having that hands-on experience in the field, in the schools, in these organizations, so you can really expand your learning and get that full exposure into the field while you're in school. And lastly, William James has a commitment to diversity, inclusion, social injustice, and intercultural understanding. Again, this is something that we prioritize in every single one of our programs and all of the work that we do here. You will see these topics focused on in all of your courses. We have a lot of events in our community where we're able to come together to educate, learn, and take action in our community as well. So I think we can move to the next slide here. And, this is a live webinar, and we are very happy to have you join us here for the next 45 or so minutes. So if at any point throughout the presentation you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A, and we will have a few opportunities to get those answered for you. And we want to make sure that you leave here today with all of the information that you're looking for about William James, about the program, the admissions process. So don't hesitate to submit any questions that you may have. So if we go to the next slide here, I will turn things over to Dr. Riley.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and a very good afternoon to everyone. So excited that you're here, which means that you have an interest in the graduate certificate in classroom mental health, and I'm hoping that we can answer all those questions for you. Just a little bit about me. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm the executive director of the Center for Behavioral Health, Equity, and Leadership in Schools. A lot of my work is focused on the direct work with school systems, focusing on professional development and consultation. So I am thrilled to be able to have this opportunity to have a very specific program that focuses on translating clinical concepts into what can be done immediately in a classroom setting. Next slide, please. My co-project lead on this is Dr. Luba Falk-Fagenberg, and she's not able to join us this afternoon, but I'm very happy to let you know who she is. She is a senior consultant with our center, and she's also an adjunct professor in organizational psychology and leadership. She has a lot of experience in working with schools, developing social emotional development and mental health and programming. She has worked at Harvard University, Boston College, and Tufts. So she really is passionate about her work with adult learning. And as I mentioned, in really translating all of the school consultation into direct work that you can take as educators. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the program. We understand the incredible amount of stress that you must be under as you try to manage and understand all of the different behavioral health needs of your students. I have been talking with folks from school districts from all over the state, at all different levels within the district, and everyone is mentioning just how incredibly distressed they are about how much students are struggling, right? And wanting to be able to do the best for students so they can engage in learning. And what our hope is that this program will be responsive to you in meeting those needs. It is highly experiential, meaning that we are going to be talking about how to use the concepts that you learn immediately into your work in schools. It is comprehensive in that we include a lot of information about you as an educator, reflective practice, taking a look broadly at student mental health, but also thinking about systems change. We know that you can do some things in the classroom, but that won't have long-term sustainability unless the system is also there to support you and change. So we're going to address that. We take an asset-based orientation to learning and really invite all of the expertise that through your experience as a teacher, you will bring into this group model. We have practical applications of evidence-based interventions, which we will discuss through our practicum classes. And we really do want to think about how to transform that school environment. That will be our long-term goal, and we will help you with the tools for that along the way. Next slide, please. So to give you a sense of the actual structure of the program, it is a blended program, meaning that there will be some days that are in residence at William James College, and the rest of the material will be presented to you virtually. There are a total of 15 academic credits that will be earned at the completion of the program, and that is done in 3 semesters. So the first semester begins what we call summer session 2 here at William James College, and that begins July 11th. That first class is 7 weeks, and it has 3 days in residence right from the beginning. The fall classes are 15 weeks in length, and there is a class and then a practicum class that runs parallel to that. And then spring semester 2024, which begins in January, also has a 15-week class and a practicum that goes along with that. When I say practicum, you are probably having the thoughts of, oh boy, I work full time. I don't have time to go to another school and get hours. It is not a practicum in that sense. It's more like a clinical case seminar. So you do not need to go anywhere else to accrue hours. That experiential part will come through your work in your current school setting. But the practicum will mean that we get together virtually, but synchronously, so that we can talk about what you're learning, how you're putting it into practice, how you're gathering data, how you're assessing outcomes. We have captivating readings that are really meant to be more pertinent to what you're going through every day. We will use high quality source materials that span from clinical psychology, school psychology, organizational leadership psychology. So it's an exciting blend of different disciplines that will help us better understand and address student mental health. And we will have a professional learning community. That is what we're hoping will develop through the protected time of the practicum, so that we can really come together and talk with each other to say, this is what's going on. Well, how can we address this? How are other people doing this? And really have an opportunity to try out what you're learning in your classes. Next slide, please. So who is the graduate certificate in classroom mental health for? It's for teachers who would really like to have a better understanding of student behavioral health needs, not only how to understand it, but really how to use very practical in the moment skills. Also for teachers who would like to learn how to integrate diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and social emotional learning into their daily instructional practices. One of the things that we truly believe at William James College is that DEI is not separate from SEL, is not separate from behavioral health. These are all integrated, interrelated concepts, and we need to take a look at them together. And this certificate is also for teachers who would like to develop some leadership skills, who want to advance their position or contribute to systemic change in your school. So you might be thinking about how to become a trainer, or you might be thinking about how you can have more influence of your department, or perhaps you're thinking about a position that might be open, focusing more on social emotional learning. All of these things would be absolutely appropriate and relevant, and I think participating in the graduate certificate would really help in that regard. Next slide, please. So this is but a brief sampling of the competencies related to the program. And we really do focus a lot on neuroscience so that you can understand where things are coming from, how they're related, but more importantly, how mental health impacts learning and vice versa. We're going to talk about applying translation of clinical interventions into a classroom setting. So all of the interventions that we will teach you are based on evidence-based practices. And we will talk about how do you take what's traditionally done in a 1-hour setting and really think about that more along a school setting. Not with the intention of making you diagnose, and not with the intention of making you be mental health practitioners, but really to understand how some of the skills related to treatment can be interpreted in the classroom setting. We're going to ask you to reflect on your practice, knowledge, and attitudes so that you can create action plans for improving your instructional practices. We know that a lot of the best approaches to managing student mental health is to really have a strong understanding and practice of self-reflection and a practice of co-regulation, right? You co-regulate yourself as you help regulate students. So we will focus on that. We're going to build and practice leadership and training skills so that you can take that to your school settings and your colleagues. And we'll engage in activities to learn and network with other teachers in Massachusetts. One of our greatest hopes is that even once the graduate certificate is over, you will continue to have a resource hub within William James College so that you can continue to access resources and each other as colleagues in this process. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, there are 3 different semesters, and here you are with the titles of the different courses that we were referring to. The first one is Use of Self in Leading Transformative Mental Health, Adult Social Emotional Competencies and Cultural Humility. And as I mentioned, that one is kicked off by 3 days in residence, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Fall 2023 is Clinical Concepts for Equitable Instructional Practice in the Classroom. That is 4 credits, and simultaneously you will participate in the practicum course. And in the spring, it's Inclusive Teacher Leadership, also for 4 credits with the simultaneous practicum. The graduation for this program will take place in May of 2024. And we have a lovely graduation ceremony here at the college. You are presented with a beautiful diploma indicating that you have completed your graduate studies in this program. And we often invite the superintendents of your district so that they can come and help celebrate what you have accomplished. Next slide, please. So I know you're all working full time, and I am sure that your time is very limited, and we completely understand the value of that. So we want to share a little bit with you about what it might look like for you to be in this program while you're working. The days in residence are actually during weekdays, not during the weekends, because we're trying to protect your weekend time as much as possible. And we do believe that we want to get your district support in fostering and promoting your learning. So these are days that we're hoping they will be able to give you as professional development days. There are recorded lectures and weekly readings And those parts that are asynchronous, you can access at your own pace and at your own time. So that way you can build a schedule that feels doable for you. We will have live meetings for practicum, but the way that we will determine the schedule for that is that when we meet those first 3 days in residence during the summer, we are going to take a poll from the group to see what is the best day and time so that we can really craft this time to be one that is accessible for the group at hand. If I had to put a time frame to it, we're thinking maybe like 4 hours a week that you would be spending on the work that you're doing. There might be some weeks when we can stretch out assignments over time. There might be some weeks when it's a little bit closer in time. But one of the things we will always do is give you a preview of what's coming up along with the assignments. So that way you have an opportunity to build your schedule in a way that feels helpful for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm excited to hear what questions you might have. So let me know what's on your mind.
All right, great. So we'll start with a few questions. And as we're talking, if you have more questions, just keep submitting them. And there will be a final Q&A at the end as well. So first question here is asking if you could talk a little bit about the online system and kind of what assignments you're expecting for courses. Is going to be exams, papers, discussions, that sort of thing.
Sure, thank you for that question. The platform that we use for this program is Canvas. And once you are admitted into the program, you will receive information from William James as to how to access that and join the Canvas course page. We will post the syllabus and all of the modules related to the courses. In terms of what readings and assignments, so there will be a combination of some readings for the week, and the assignments are varied. There might be some reflection papers. There might be some creation of a lesson plan, for example, as an assignment. We will also have times when we have a question that we will post on a discussion board, and we are hoping that the responses are back and forth, and it's not just like a singular individualized assignment, but really it's one that involves discussion among the whole class. Some other assignments might include collecting data based on what we call a mini experiment. So as we teach you different things in the program, we're going to give you a series of mini experiments for you to try. And so some of the assignments might be to collect data, to identify a particular area that you want more help with. So the assignments will be varied based on the different weeks and certainly on the different topics.
Great. We have another question here asking if you could talk a little bit about the resources available at William James, especially for students who might not have taken an online program before or going back to school after a long time.
Absolutely. So we are so fortunate to work at William James College because there really is a lot of individualized attention to all of our students. And that includes the number of different resources available. So for example, if you're struggling with the Canvas platform, certainly Luba, my co-director, and I can help you with that, but we also have a fantastic Department of Educational Technology who can also help us with that. Our IT department is phenomenal. We have an ARC, so an Academic Resource Center at William James College, who is also able to help with any accommodations that students might need. Thinking about, different learning profiles and styles. Anything related to writing is also part of that ARC program. We will make resources available and accessible in different ways. So if there are any additional requirements from a visual perspective, for example, we are going to work with students to make sure that any accommodations that will make the learning process easier, we can do. We have an incredible library with a great amount of resources. And we also have, as Sarah mentioned, amazing colleagues. So we are going to bring in the expertise of other colleagues and other perspectives as well. So hopefully the process of engaging with the learning will feel exciting, and we don't want you to be burdened by the technicalities of, like the online process.
Great. Another question here is asking if any of the credits or coursework is able to be transferred to another program at William James. So if you complete the certificate, if you can transfer any of those credits. They're particularly asking about the counseling program, or if there's another degree that it might transfer to.
Sure. So not at the moment. However, because we do have the benefit of working together with our colleagues here, I would say if you're interested in transferring credits, come talk to me about that and let me understand what you're thinking about to see if there's a particular pathway that we can pursue for you.
Great. And then kind of a similar question, are there any prerequisites that need to be completed before you can apply to this program, or
So the prerequisite is to complete the application process. So we do ask that folks submit their transcripts, that they have a letter of recommendation. There are a few essay questions, brief essay questions for you to complete as part of the application process. And then once we review the application, if we invite you for an interview, then it's an interview with myself and with Dr. Fagenberg. So we can, get to know each other better and think about the program. So no work that will need to happen before. It's really more the application process.
great. And I think that's a perfect transition. We can go to the next slide here and pass things over to Julia, who can talk a little bit more in depth about that admissions process.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Ogden, and I am the admissions counselor for the graduate certificate in classroom mental health. And as Naja was talking about, the prerequisite for this program is really just to have like a 4-year degree, an undergraduate degree. And then there's the application process. So as she mentioned, there's an online application. It's pretty user friendly. And then you submit, a letter of recommendation from an individual. Basically, what you're doing is putting in the name of a person who will be providing the recommendation, and then that request is sent directly to them. So we just need like contact information so we can send that request out. You submit a resume to us or a CV, and you do an application essay. The application is not very long. You can see just 200 words at the most, and you can find those application prompts, the essay prompts, on our website. So if you want to look at that and see what it's asking you to talk about, you can look at that at any time. We do also ask that you submit official needed for enrollment during the application process. What you can do is you can upload unofficial transcripts, which would be any transcripts provided by you. So you can upload those directly into the application portal, and that allows us to review your application, for faculty to interview you, and kind of go through the whole admissions process. And then once you're admitted to the program, then we would need official transcripts to enroll you officially in the program. So this program, it's important to note, only starts in the summer. As Naja mentioned earlier, it's our summer 2 session, which is starting July 11th. And so the admissions deadline for this program is May 1st. So after that, that general deadline, what we'll do is we have rolling admissions until the program is full. So, if you, don't get your things in, your materials in by May 1st, it's okay. We continue to look at applications, but obviously the earlier you get your materials in, the better, because that allows just for more time for us to process and obviously go through the interview process, so it doesn't feel rushed. And then the link for the application is down there at the bottom at www.williamjames.edu/apply. And you apply, everything goes through online. It's a pretty simple process, and admissions is here to walk you through every step of the way. So if at any point you have questions or have trouble with the application, we're here to help. And I know Naja is also available for questions as well. So if there's a question I can't answer, she's readily during the process, just to make sure we're clarifying anything, any questions you have about the program, or just, going through this admissions process. All right. So now we're just kind of opening it up for any more questions you might have, either for Naja about the program or for the admissions process as well.
All right, great. So the first question for you, Julia, is about the transcripts. And if someone has a master's degree, if you want to see their bachelor's level and master's level transcripts, or just the most recent.
That's a good question. So while we do only require that you have a bachelor's degree to apply to the program, if you do have a master's degree, like many educators do, we do ask that you send those to us as well.
Okay, great. And then another question here is asking for a little more detail on the interview process. How soon after someone applies would they hear about if they're invited to an interview, and kind of what that process looks like?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So we are reviewing applications immediately as they come in. So it probably take us a couple of days to be able to go through the materials, and then we will inform folks as quickly as we can about the interview. We understand that it's, as Julia said, getting close to that deadline date. So we're working with folks to make sure that we make the timing work for them as best we can.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
And I just, mention one thing which we haven't talked about, but it's really important. We do have scholarship money available for the program. So we have different levels of scholarships available. If you are a person who's working within one of our center partner districts, you get a $7,500 scholarship. If you work within a METCO affiliated district, you get an $8,000 scholarship. And if you don't fit into those categories, you can still be eligible for a merit scholarship. So we encourage you to reach out to us and ask us about that. It's an incredible scholarship in terms of, how much it contributes towards the cost of the program. So please don't forget to ask about that when you contact admissions.
Yeah,
Great.
especially if you don't know if you fit into one of those categories, you can just send us an email and we can let you know if your school participates in one of those, scholarship programs. And there's no separate application for it. It's just letting us know basically that you belong to one of those school systems.
Great. That was actually the next question that was submitted. So perfect timing for talking about that. It looks like those are all the questions that we've had asked in the Q&A so far. So I don't know if Dr. Rowley, you want to just end with some final thoughts about the program?
Sure. So one of the things we're most excited about is the cohort model that we will have for this. We're hoping that at most the program will have 20 people, so we can make it a really close, intimate learning experience, and people will get a lot of individual attention. And, you will also have an advisor within the program. So no one will be left alone through the process. There will be a lot of support for learning. And we're really excited to be able to also include the expertise that you have garnered over time through your teaching as an incredible contribution to this cohort. So if at any time you have questions, as Sarah mentioned, my email is right there on the screen. There's an underscore between Naja and Riley that you need to include in there. But please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And if there's any outreach that you might need us to do to your superintendents or your districts, we're happy to do that too.
Great. So yes, as Nadia just mentioned, you can reach out directly to her. There's the admissions email there as well. So you can email info@williamjames.edu and be connected with Julia if you have specific admissions questions. And as we've mentioned a few times, our website is williamjames.edu, and there's a lot of information there about the program, about William James in general, the different resources that Dr. Riley was talking about. So you can definitely check that out as well, or connect with us on any of the social media channels listed there. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope that this info session was helpful for you as you're thinking about this graduate certificate program. So we hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thanks, you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.